You're rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots, and a sexy body full of tats.
The 2025 French MotoGP was an event full of emotions for the Yamaha team and its flagship rider, Fabio Quartararo. After winning pole position in front of the home crowd, high hopes surrounded the Yamaha paddock. However, the main race turned into a nightmare when Quartararo crashed early in the race due to slippery track conditions due to rain. The incident not only ended his chances of reaching the podium, but also led to sanctions from the FIM MotoGP stewards. Quartararo was penalized with a ban from the first 10 minutes of the next free practice session and a fine of €2,000 for jeopardizing safety after the crash. Yamaha's post-race gesture reflected deep disappointment. The team looked glum, and the atmosphere in their garage was one of mourning for the Frenchman's misfortune. This situation adds to the long list of challenges facing Quartararo and Yamaha this season. Previously, Quartararo had expressed his frustration with Yamaha's declining performance. He called the Yamaha bike the most difficult to ride on the grid and considered the option to move teams if there was no significant improvement. However, in April 2025, Quartararo decided to extend his contract with Yamaha until the end of the 2026 season. This decision was based on his belief that Yamaha has a new approach and aggressive mindset to return to competing in the front row. And here's the full news. Monster Energy Yamaha rider, Fabio Quartararo, had to accept the harsh reality after undergoing the 2025 French MotoGP last weekend. Running a home race does not necessarily make Quartararo able to soar easily at the 2025 French MotoGP, which rolls at the Le Mans circuit. The rider nicknamed El Diablo had shown his hope when he got pole position, aka starting from pole position. It was a pole position that Quartararo managed to get for the first time since the last time in 2021 with the Yamaha factory team. Occupying the leading starting position, the 26-year-old rider failed to convert it to a winning result or podium during the sprint and GP. In the sprint session or mini-race, Quartararo had to be eliminated from the podium zone after finishing in fourth place. Meanwhile, during the main race, rainy conditions made the 2021 MotoGP class world champion fail to finish after experiencing a crash. Regret certainly pervades Quartararo's mind in the 2025 French MotoGP series, which is his home race. The hope of getting a victory or podium vanished, replaced by a series of penalties that Quartararo had to undergo, from long laps to fines. Yes, Quartararo was one of the riders who received a long lap penalty because he changed his bike. After that, he was sentenced again for the next series, namely British MotoGP 2025, for not complying with procedures from the marshal after the crash. He pushed the marshal away from him shortly after the crash and hit the bike's gas tank to vent his emotions. Quartararo received a fine of €2,000, or the equivalent of approximately 36 million rupiah, plus a 10-minute suspension in the upcoming British MotoGP FP1 session 2025. Alex Rins' teammate was even more disappointed after he felt he had a good rhythm to compete with Ducati rider Marc Marquez after the long lap penalty. "It's a shame, but I know that the pace to win or get on the podium is very difficult, so I wanted to go all out from the first lap," Quartararo said. "Then I did a long lap penalty and was still very close to Marquez. But the rain came down harder, and I didn't even have time to overtake from the back and completely lost the leading position. I didn't really expect to lose like that, but that's what happened," he added, quoted from the Motosan website. On the same occasion, Quartararo also congratulated the success of his compatriot, Johan Zarco of LCR Honda, who came out as the winner. "Unfortunately, I didn't win, but I can imagine how Johan feels. Congratulations to him," said Quartararo. Yamaha through team director Massimo Meregalli also highlighted the results obtained by Quartararo at the 2025 French MotoGP as a grief. The team bearing the tuning fork logo realized how disappointed Quartararo had to fail to bring points from the main race session at his home. "Our hearts go out to Quartararo, who is of course disappointed to have to end his home race with no points," said Meregalli. However, he has shown his courage on the opening lap, he added. Furthermore, the man with a bald head praised Quartararo, who had actually performed well before crashing. In the past, we have had difficulties in the same conditions, but Quartararo was very competitive until he crashed, said Meregalli. So we take it as a positive sign for the races in wet conditions that we will have this season, he added. Fabio Quartararo, the Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP flagship rider, is back in the spotlight after a controversial incident at the French MotoGP which took place at the Le Mans circuit. Not only failed to finish, Quartararo also had to receive sanctions from the FIM MotoGP stewards panel which were considered quite severe. The incident began when Quartararo crashed at the last corner on the fourth lap in slippery track conditions due to rain. After falling, Quartararo looked angry and argued with the marshal who was trying to help. The action was later deemed a violation of safety regulations and ethics on the track. As a result of the incident, Quartararo was fined €2,000 or the equivalent of around 37 million Indonesian rupiah. However, it is not only financial fines that are imposed. He also received a ban from appearing during the first 10 minutes of the first free practice session FP1 in the next series, namely the British MotoGP at the Silverstone circuit. Stewards considered Quartararo's actions as behavior that did not comply with marshal instructions and had the potential to endanger safety. In the world of motorcycle racing, cooperation with marshals is crucial, especially in the event of an accident. Uncooperative behavior is considered a serious offense, as it can slow down emergency response and increase the risk of further accidents. Although the fine is relatively small for a rider of Quartararo's stature, a ban at the start of the FP1 session could definitely disrupt the rhythm of his preparation for the race. Every minute on the track is precious, especially for Quartararo, who is currently struggling to improve the performance of the Yamaha YZR M1, which has not been competitive this season. So far, neither Quartararo nor Yamaha has made an official statement regarding the incident or the sanctions imposed. However, this sanction is an important reminder that professionalism and compliance with regulations are non-negotiable in a MotoGP Class World Championship. On the other hand, incident at the last corner of Le Mans. While the race was taking place in wet track conditions due to rain, Quartararo, who started from an unfavorable position, lost control of his bike at the last corner of the fourth lap. He slipped and fell off his bike. When the marshals tried to help, the camera captured a moment where Quartararo looked frustrated and there was quite a tense interaction between him and the track officials. This action, according to the steward's report, was considered a form of non-compliance with the instructions of the marshal on duty. They said that Quartararo's attitude was not only unsportsmanlike, but also jeopardized the safety of others on the track, including the marshals who have a heavy duty to ensure the smooth and safe running of the race. FP1 fines and penalties at British MotoGP. For this incident, the FIM imposed administrative sanctions in the form of a fine of €2,000, around 37 million Indonesian rupiah. However, the more impactful sanction is a ban for Quartararo to take part in the first 10 minutes of the first free practice session FP1 in the upcoming British MotoGP series at Silverstone. This is a pretty crucial form of time penalty for any rider, given that every minute on the practice track is crucial for data collection and technical strategizing. Impact on preparation and performance. Yamaha have had a difficult time this season, with their YZR M1 bike struggling to compete with teams like Ducati, KTM and Aprilia. Quartararo, who had previously criticized the bike's performance, relies heavily on practice time to try out different setups that could give him an edge. Losing time in FP1 is not only a technical loss, but could also impact his confidence ahead of the race. Some analysts say that this punishment could be a strong warning from the MotoGP authorities to riders to maintain professional ethics, even in emotional post-crash conditions. Marshals are considered a vital part of race safety, and any violation of safety rules can set a dangerous precedent. No official response. Until now, there has been no official statement from Quartararo or Yamaha regarding the sanction. However, the situation is expected to spark further discussion about the pressures riders experience when under highly competitive conditions and the importance of emotional management in an extreme sport like MotoGP.
Rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me. Cause she got a bad little waist, and we tearing down this place. Off the liquor that we chase, got some egos to the face, baby, I don't need no space. Coming closer for a taste, and I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on that tight frame. All game, no shame, baby came here to play. I feel like an addict cause she's sex, drugs, cocaine. Got a fine little body and her mind's kinda naughty. They say that once you taste it, you cannot replace it. She could get you high, all the dopamine inside triggers fast once she's naked. Her body's a creation. They say the devil made her for his entertainment, but even he couldn't learn how to contain it. Her high heels make a damn good statement. There is no replacement, a body by Satan. Cause she got a bad little waist, and we tearing down this place. Off the liquor that we chase, got some egos to the face, baby, I don't need no space. Coming